Well, welcome to the Issue Roundtable, where we discuss issues regarding multiculturalism and diversity in Korea with Jem and Titi here in the studio with us.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, at least you're lightening up the this very gloomy day.
It is a gloomy day.
So rainy, so gloomy, but getting better, right?
Yeah, and we're having a bit of like heavy issues or topics here in the show as well. We're talking about mosques. And of course, we're going to talk something more controversial today.
Our specialty.
I hope you're both ready.
We're ready.
We'll try it. We'll go for it.
Now, unusual and controversial meats, including dog meat, are always the subject of debate. I think it can be different in every country, but for Korea, this is one big issue. Now, recently, news of South Korean President Moon Jae-in's consideration of a ban on the consumption of dog meat has been on, and news is circulating in Korea as well as international news such as the Washington Post. So why do you think is this such a hot topic?
Oh, yes. Well, I heard there's been like recent public outcry. This has always been an issue, but there's been outcry because there's over 3,000 dog meat farms still existing in Korea. And not to mention, people love dogs as pets now, right? Actually, a survey says the agricultural ministry said 27% of South Korean homes have dogs now, pets in their homes. So it's definitely, pets are becoming the norm rather than using dogs as, for food consumption.
Yes, indeed. Now, how about you, Titi? What do you think about, dog meat consumption here in Korea? Have you even heard about it the first time you came to Korea?
I'm very familiar with dog meat, even as consumption, because in Nigeria, they do also, not Nigeria as a whole, there's a tribe in Nigeria that do consume dog meat. So I'm familiar with the idea, but I didn't know Korea also did it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So you didn't know before you came here. I also did not know before I came here.
Right, same.
I also did not know it was that because in Nigeria, when we hear about it, we just look at the person like,
Okay.
okay. But in Korea, it was more, there was a market. They would tell me, if you go to the market, you see, I'm like, what? Really? And that's like she said, 3,000 restaurants are still open. I'm like, really? Now? Still? Like, even in Nigeria, I don't think I ever knew a restaurant that did that.
So
actually serves it.
It's something cultural,
Yeah,
not a part of the, not an industry per se.
No.
Right?
No.
Because this is an industry here in Korea. And I remember way back when I was still a member of the assembly. And until now, I still receive a lot of messages from way out of the country, like from different countries, trying to say their opinions on dog meat consumption here in Korea, and help us put a ban on dog meat consumption in Korea. But President Moon this came into light once again because President Moon said something about a ban on dog meat consumption. He's a dog lover, right, Jem?
Right. I was really surprised when I searched about it. Did you know that he has maybe over 10 dogs?
Oh, really?
Yes. He has many dogs. And then recently in the news, his dog had puppies, 7 puppies.
Oh.
Okay, I knew about the puppies.
Yes. You heard about the puppies?
Yeah.
So cute, by the way.
I saw their picture.
Okay, so he's a certified dog lover. Do you love dogs? Do you have pets?
I have a dog. I have a dog in America with my family. But yeah, they're adorable. I love all animals. Yes, dogs included.
I wanted one as a kid, but my mom said I wasn't responsible enough.
Oh no!
And you figure out you weren't until you're adult because you still don't have
Still
one.
not responsible.
Okay.
How about now?
Still not responsible enough.
Okay, there you go. But what is the history of dog meat eating culture here in Korea? Now, this is not something that just popped out. This is not something that what Titi said happened in Nigeria, that there's a particular tribe who eats dog
dogs,
meat,
yeah.
right? So what is the history of dog meat eating here in Korea?
So in Korea, I found out that it goes way back into even the Buyo dynasty.
Oh, wow.
And they said, so there's in the North Korea region, not South Korea, North Korea region, there's a tomb from Goguryeo, which is much older. And at the tomb, there's a mural there
Okay.
of this is gonna be so controversial. You know how they put animals upside down for So there's a dog and what could be presumed as deer, boar, and other animals, and also around with the people are also other dogs.
Okay.
So it shows that the idea of dog consumption and dog as a pet was already they were already struggling with this concept from way back.
Yeah.
You know? So even as far back as the Goguryeo era, which was like AD century, 400th century, they had this saying that they came up with as the ones we eat and the ones we don't eat. And that was how the logic that most people used for it. But then as times went on, especially in the colonization era, when almost all food in Korea was being exported out, people went back to eating more of dogs. And then, the colonization era, they tried to remove all Korean culture, all forms of Korean culture. So when, again, everyone was eating dogs at one point, it now somehow got associated with culture. So when they were trying to come with more national identity, people clung to dog eating as part of their culture, you know?
Yeah.
So, which is why, understandably, the largest dog market was opened in 1960.
60s, okay.
So,
that's shortly after the liberation,
exactly.
Right? Okay. Now, but then again, as you have said, it's been open. The largest dog market has been open in the early 1960s. But when did dog meat consumption start becoming frowned upon?
Right. If you remember, Korea held the Olympics in 1988, was it? And then during that time, the government or they said, don't sell dog meat at this time because the international image of Korea doesn't want to be associated with dog meat. So from that time, 1988, people have viewed it in a negative light.
Oh, yeah. I remember even during the Pyeongchang Olympics, they paid the restaurants in Pyeongchang not to sell during that period.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is really something big for Korea. Now, of course, there are, pros and cons when it comes to issues like this. Who are the different parties and, what are their arguments regarding dog meat eating here in Korea?
So people seem to forget 1960 is not that far ago.
Yeah.
Less than 70. 60, 70. Oh, math.
Math is hard.
Let's
not that long
60
ago.
years.
60, about 60 years
About
ago.
60 years ago.
Okay.
And there are people who were still born at that time, who were still babies at that time, or Korea, they leave long enough. So maybe we're even full-grown adults at that time, have cultivated their own lifestyle with their families. It's hard to tell them that they should kill their culture, something they consider culture.
A part of their culture. Like, for example, I have, for the past 15 years since I got married, I needed to cook dog meat for my grandmother-in-law because she needed it every summer. Because, what we do here in Korea, like, for example, for samgyetang, we eat a lot of it in summer. And it's the same thing with dog meat. And I really have to cook it every single day, reheat it every single day. And it's like the entire month of October to September, she gets it every single day, every single meal.
Because
Really?
it regulates body temperature.
It regulates body temperature, and it's also good for, she thinks, it gives her vigor, it gives her, energy.
Energy.
So the older generation really has that particular culture in mind as well.
So that's in Korea, they also consider it medicinal, right?
Yeah.
Same way in other cultures too that do eat dog meat, they have the same the same thought process. They think it's medicinal.
Yeah, so we have the older generation. We also have, of course, the sellers, the one
Who created the farms.
industry.
The livelihood of them
And
as
of
well.
course, the other part of it is the animal rights groups.
Right.
Uh-huh. But dog meat consumption is common. Isn't it common in other cultures as well? Like one of our, I think one of our listeners just said, she might not be familiar with dog meat, but lizards, different kinds of animals are being eaten. So it's kind of like it's common in other cultures as well, right?
Right, absolutely. When I searched about dog meat consumption, in general, they were Asian countries, parts of China, Singapore, Taiwan, and Thailand. However, these countries have already banned dog meat. Korea hasn't, gone that far yet. But despite it being banned in those countries, I heard that over 30 million dogs are still used for meat each year, according to the
Wow.
Humane Society. So it's still happening regardless of the ban. So we
So
could
it's not only
consider-
in Korea that it's happening, right? And of
Right.
course, the Nigerian.
In Nigeria, it's also in Nigeria, like we haven't had. They just started protesting against it recently,
Oh, really?
and that's because dog consumption is also associated with immunity.
Okay.
So with the pandemic,
Oh, yeah.
Connection.
the consumption
connection,
went
yeah.
high. And it's something like we always ignored, we ignored it pretty much all this time. But because of the pandemic, everything is coming front, right? Everyone
yeah.
can see everything. You're like, oh, I'm cured because I had dog meat.
Okay.
And so people are like, no.
Yes.
So thus began the protest. But this is done by the people themselves. No international intervention.
Okay. I know.
Yeah.
Now, as I have said, dog meat consumption is common in other cultures as well. Besby, our listener, dog meat eaters says dog meat is fit for a cold weather, just like here. Those who live up north. There is a cold place here called Baguio. Oh, so that's in the Philippines. And some natives eat dog meat too. So, it regulates your body temperature. 3091, dog meat consumption. Every country has its own tradition, like snail in France. I agree we shouldn't eat it, but respecting other culture as it is also good manners. So I think this is what it comes to, I mean, it is another person's culture.
Right. People seem to be quite on the fence about this issue. Yes.
And of course, 2701 said, 누군가에겐 지나친 참견이 될 수도 있겠네요. So for some of the people, it may be, interfering with this is like interference, some other people interfering with other people's choices. So that's what they're trying to say. Now, as you have mentioned, there are international organizations who justified to criticize Korea's practice without knowing the historical and cultural backgrounds as well. As you have said, in Nigeria, this is being done by the people, not by international organizations, right?
But you see, like international, you can never satisfy them. They can never be satisfied.
Okay.
I've come to that conclusion. There's always one organization that doesn't agree with another thing. So, for example, they're an organization in the UK. I think they stand for People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
Okay.
Right. They're quite famous.
Yeah, right? And I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, they released this video where they made people try milk.
Okay.
And some people tried it and they're like, oh, this is sweet, this is smooth, this delicious. And then they told them, it's dog milk.
Okay.
And immediately people's reactions changed, and but that wasn't their message. Their message wasn't to say, don't drink dog milk.
But it's not really dog meat that they
No,
asked.
they gave them soya milk.
Okay.
They gave them soya milk. But they were trying to tell people that all animal milk is wrong.
Oh, okay.
Humans are the
conclusion.
only ones who take milk from other animals.
Okay. Now, that's something that's interesting, and we know how international organizations work because they have to. I mean, the meaning for having an international organization is to fight for the right of the animals, right, for pets. But sometimes, as one of our listeners just mentioned, this might be too much putting your noses into other people's business, sort of, right? But are there countries that consume unusual or controversial meats for their own reason? We have seen, Natasha said, lizard and some other things that she wrote earlier.
Yes. Well, China is sometimes known for eating bushmeat. Bushmeat refers to wild animals such as bats, monkeys, rats, snakes, lizards, maybe, and so on. And pretty much the same reason, health purposes as a health tonic. This is the reason why people consume these kinds of foods. But this debate also came up again with the rise of COVID-19.
Oh, the
right?
bats.
Right. We don't know the source of COVID, but it's assumed to be. Yeah, that is one of the theories. So people are quite against bushmeat as well.
This might be slightly off topic. But about what you said about bushmeat, the controversy about bushmeat. In Nigeria, we also eat bats and also weird sorts of meat. But you barely hear like diseases coming out from Nigeria or even any African country, basically. So it makes you wonder, what is the connection? There's something more, but because we don't want to dive into it, we just say, oh, it's because you're eating the wrong meats. But we also forget that there's also the mad cow disease, the bird flu, which are with the right
meat, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I was speaking with a Paul earlier, and he said, as a dog eater, he can't really like judge people who are eating other kinds of meat, though he himself doesn't eat it. But I think it's the truth. I mean, why don't we think about if we're thinking that much about dogs? I mean, why not the pork? The pig meat, the cows, the beef, the chickens, and all of this.
I don't care for the chickens, but...
But fried chicken, Korean fried chicken, think about it.
Okay, so 1156 just texted us. 식용으로 사육되는 개와 윤리적으로 문제없게 도축된다면 개고기를 안 먹을 이유는 없을 것 같습니다. So, I mean, when there is no problem with raising, no ethical problem in raising and slaughtering dog meat that is or that are raised for eating, for consumption. I think they think that there's no reason not to eat dog meat. So it's different, different issues, different opinions from different people. Now, but how do you think will the current controversy unfold?
Well, actually, they did a survey recently. As of 2020, the Nielsen online research conducted with South Koreans, 83.8% of South Koreans said they've never eaten dog meat, and they have no plan to eat it in the future either. In fact, 58% supported the ban. However, it seems like overall, those numbers are pretty high. People are not that into eating dog meat anymore, even though it's culture and tradition. The older generation seems to be the main consumer of dog meat here.
Yeah, as we have said, Korea is not the only country where people eat controversial food, right?
Right.
Like, can you think of anything, Titi?
Horse meat.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
like those are especially in Kazakhstan, in Kyrgyzstan, in Uzbekistan.
The Stan countries.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce them.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, rabbits.
Oh, okay.
Dolphins.
Guinea pigs. Have you heard
people eat
about
guinea
that?
pigs?
Yes. Honestly, there are a lot of food that we don't understand. A lot of meat that we don't understand are being eaten by
But why
people.
rabbits? They're so cute, though.
Easy to catch.
Like, for example, we also have problems with whales, right?
right,
Because they are endangered, first and foremost. And then, of course, shark's fin.
Right.
I have read it on the news how they cut the fins off and then put back the sharks back into the
Without their fins?
Yes, into the
So
wild.
the survival rate is very low. Right.
So it's really kind of a really difficult thing for a lot of animals out there. And of course, as Titi has mentioned earlier, some think of it as, it may be, for health reasons, something that you eat for you to be, to be healthy.
Vegetables are healthy.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we have foie gras. This is a very, very very famous, very, very expensive food, right?
Right.
Jen?
Right. Foie gras is usually kind of the enlarged, I believe, liver from a goose. And, because they have to overfeed them to
Yeah.
get the liver, it's known as a controversial food because,
Yeah.
right, they suffer as well. So it's not the only one, quite many out
Yeah.
there.
I find it so fascinating that talking about foie gras icks me out more than eating dogs.
Okay. So it's really
I've never
different.
tried myself,
This is a
but-
cultural thing. It's
It's a
very
cultural-
much
Right.
different. 8851 개고기를 먹는 걸 법으로 금지하는 방법도 있지만 사람들이 합의해서 자연스럽게 사라지는 방법도 있을 것 같아요. 법으로 막는다고 완전히 없어지는 문제라고 생각하지는. I think this is really a good thing. Like eating the consumption of dog meat can be banned through putting a law out there, but they think that it's a good thing, and to talk to the people, agree on something that this should be stopped, and then slowly see how it changes. And of course, even though if you want to change the law, it's still not going to.
Stop
them.
Stop it all. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Well, anyway, this has been a long discussion and there's more to it. But we had a listener that who texted about the mosque in Taegu. Listener 2520 texted us that not all residents is against the construction of the mosque in Taegu are against Islam. Some of them have been citing loud noise and excessive trash in the neighborhood that leads to offensive odor. Well, there you go. I'm going to see you again next week, you two. Men on Air is coming up next as well. See you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Love you.
FM